might be coming out for sure, Shaq.
I got the brand new dude, you guaranteed like you. I'm on like that's a job, damn it, this.
Hey everyone, Kyle Bohannon here with the Art of Physical Fitness show, theartofphysicalfitness.com. Today I'm here to answer a question from Danny all the way in Australia, and Danny asks, hey Kyle, I was just wondering, is it fine to keep up with the same levels of exercise week after week, month after month, just exercising, eating, resting, and repeating? I don't know if I'm having trouble pacing myself or if I should be familiarizing myself with foam rollers or other massage equipment or deloading every now and then. So, Danny, in addressing your first part of that as far as exercise levels, let's first talk about frequency. You can fluctuate however you want in your frequency, whatever works with your schedule and whichever you see results on. Let's just say for the sake of matters, 3 times a week is what you find works for you and works for your schedule. That is certainly fine, and there's really no need to vary from that. You can certainly stick with 3 times a week and create variation or avoiding accommodation or what have you, even when it's 3 times a week. There have been tons of programs that have been based on 3 times a week, and people have seen prolonged results throughout history. So as far as frequency, you can keep it the same. As far as exercise selection, heck, you can keep that the same too. I spent a good year at a point just simply barbell squatting. I was not doing front squatting or anything like that. It was simply barbell back squatting. And I did that for a year, and my squat went from 325, I want to say, to 405 for a double has been my best. So that just knocks out the door any thought that you actually do need to provide much variation as far as exercise selection. How I did vary my the exercise during that time was I adjusted the reps. Sometimes I was working for 5, sometimes working for 3s or 2s or what have you. So I varied it that way. And that is the way that I believe most people should approach their training as far as strength training, is just making subtle variations instead of complete overhauls. For, again, squat, you can just simply change the reps you're going for. You can change simple going from a wide stance to a more narrow stance. You can change going from a dive bomber type squat, popping right back out, or pausing down at the bottom. Just simple, subtle variations. In a deadlift, you can go from a regular deadlift to a deficit deadlift or a snatch grip deadlift. Again, subtle variations, not complete overhauls. And you can do this type of thing for a prolonged period of time. Again, you can switch every 2 weeks, every 4 weeks, every 6, 12, a year, whatever you see that works for you. Again, I had success on sticking strictly with the barbell back squat for a year, but I've also had success making subtle variations every month. Usually the program I go with is where I'll make the subtle variation, either going from, say, deadlift, I usually go deficit deadlift, regular conventional deadlift, deficit, conventional. I pretty much go back and forth between those two. With that being said, you can also go about changing up your rest periods. It's a whole host of things that you can provide variation in your program without stalling out. So I hope that answers your question via the exercise part. Now, when you're asking, the second part of this was addressing foam rolling and massage, and deloading. So let's bring back to deloading because that comes into play with the exercise. I don't believe in a dedicated deloading week like a lot of programs might call for. I'm a believer in just listening to your body, and if you don't have it that day, back off, reduce the volume, reduce the number of exercises, reduce the intensity, and come back and get it another day. Simply view it as just, you're putting money in the bank. In those days you don't have it, groove technique. Work on staying tight, work on getting depth, work on the squat, spreading your knees out. Focus on technique on those days you don't have it, where you can't go up to the true heavy lift that you might want to go for. Again, go by feel. Now, that's not to say I completely abhor deloading weeks. Certainly, I'm preparing for my first powerlifting competition, and I'm kind of doing a sort of deload week right now. Especially next week will definitely be a deload week, as the competition is a week from this Saturday, so about 10 days away. So if you have a planned event, such as a powerlifting meet or something like that, then it might be a good idea to add a deloading week to prepare into it. But again, I'm not really, as far as the long-term process and a whole philosophy on this, not necessarily having deload weeks, but rather just fluctuating, going up and down, going with the ebbs and flows of life, and fitting your training to that in that way. Now, as far as massage and foam rollers, to be completely and utterly honest with you, I don't do it. I occasionally maybe once a year we'll go actually get a massage, and every once in a while I'll mess around in a foam roller for 2 minutes or something like that. But I don't know if it's exact direct correlation. I highly doubt it. But I haven't really done any type of foam rolling for a good 3 months now, and the tendonitis in my left knee has actually gone away. I think that's more so I squatted more often as opposed to not foam rolling. But I'm feeling great right now. I've incorporated more body weight training within my program, and with that, and more exercises that have a flexibility component and mobility component within the exercise is how I've gone about it. And I haven't foam rolled unless I'm demonstrating to someone else who really have to work on some tight areas. That's the exception. If you have some really tight areas that need some work and some need to be addressed, then yeah, certainly foam roll it. And if you feel like it helps you, certainly foam roll. I'm not saying this is a rule for everyone. This is just how I feel based on my body, and I felt great since I really haven't been foam rolling. Again, I don't think it's a direct correlation, but why break it why try and fix what ain't broken, as the saying goes. So if you feel like the need to do massaging and foam rolling and all that, by all means, go ahead at it. Who knows? Maybe I'll pay for it down the road, but right now I don't feel like I am. My body feels as best as it's felt in a number of years. I don't have knee pain, shoulder pain, anything like that. Pretty much pain-free. So with that all said, I hope this addresses your question. They had dealing with same levels of exercises. The one last thing on the levels of exercises I wanted to address before I sign off here is try experimenting with adjusting the levels of volume and intensity, perhaps going through a high intensity, low volume phase where you might just do, work up to a 5, work up to a 3 in your squat, and then some light accessory work, or just low volume, high intensity work, focusing more on strength per se, and then combat it with a phase of high volume approach, working now with 6, 8, 10, 12, 15 reps, somewhere in that range, and let them play off of each other. That higher volume phase will help build muscle. That more low volume, higher intensity phase will help turn that muscle into more, for lack of a better term, usable strength, if you will. So they'll play off of each other. And more strength, more load used during the volume phase, and thus a higher amount of muscular growth. So I hope this addresses your question. If you have further questions on this, go ahead and via the same means, go ahead and reply and let me know what your questions are, and I'll be happy to hear them and answer them. Anyone else who has questions for me, go ahead and click the link down on this side right down here. Click on that, take you to a page to ask me your question. I'll be more than happy to help you and get you on your way onto the path of awesomeness. So with that said, this is Kyle Bohannon again with the artofphysicalfitness.com, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.